Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey, and we are the Marvel Movie Podcasters.
And today we are discussing, we're going to be having a conversation about uh, the movie Night Swim. But before we do that, Brandon, uh, who just got back from the movie
I
today,
did.
uh,
I did. Double feature.
going to discuss. Oh, all right, before we get into that, I just want to, I know that earlier this week, we didn't get to talk about it last year, obviously, because you just saw it. What were your thoughts on? What were your thoughts on the Iron Claw?
Oh man, that's a heartbreaking film. Look, I consider myself a little bit of a wrestling historian, like you, a little bit. But I mean, there's some things I didn't know, and
Mm-hmm.
I do know what Kevin said about his dad. That's the one aspect he didn't like. He said it wasn't true. I don't know if he's covering for his father, or if it's actually the truth. Um, but as far as the brothers, I knew once the first brother died, I knew where it was going to go, and it did. But I did not know that Kerry actually beat Ric Flair for the title, then had his motorcycle accident. And I don't know. That sounds Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't even like. I didn't remember Kerry that far back. I remember Kevin that far back, but not Kerry. I remember Kerry mostly for the Texas Tornado in the WWF at the time. But I thought it was the best thing A24 has ever done, and I think that's saying a lot because they're mainly known for horror. But I really did. I thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture. It's definitely the best wrestling movie ever made. I mean, there's really not that many great ones other than The Wrestler. Um, but
Yeah, it's one of the best wrestling movie ever made. Absolutely.
yeah, I thought Zac Efron was great. I thought the guy that played Carrie was great. I thought all the brothers,
Yeah.
the guy that played Mikey, once he gets hurt and he wakes up from the coma and he's not all there, I just thought he did a tremendous job. And I love the guy that played the father, but I kind of want to give the love to the mother. I remember her in Liar Liar in Primary Colors, and I really hadn't seen much of her since the 90s. But I thought she had some interesting story arcs in the movie as well. I thought everyone had a role, and they were near perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, the whole family. It's a great
Oh,
family story.
she
Honestly,
wasn't. She wasn't in. She's not in. I confuse her with the lady that was in. What is it called? Dogma. That's not her from Dogma, right?
no.
She was. But I know the lady that's in this movie. She always plays a sarcastic type of role in certain things. I
Yeah.
thought she did a really good job. I do want to mention now. I don't know his name, but I know he's in the show The Bear, which I just kind of started. I started watching a little bit of an episode because because I thought he did a great job as Carrie Von Erich so much in this movie that I wanted to see more of him. So
Yeah, I tell you what, I seen a picture of him next to Pee Wee Herman. It was fake. They were saying he was his son. Of course, Pee Wee doesn't have kids. I think he would be a great Pee Wee Herman. He kind of looks like Pee Wee, and you take
really be
off
being
the long
Paul
hair.
Rubin and then
Yeah,
dealing with
I
the
think he could do
persona.
it.
Yeah.
I do. I thought he was great as Carrie. You said he won an award for the Bear.
Well, yeah, he won an award for the show The Bear. And I watched a little bit of the episode, and from what I was watching, I was like, I want to see more of this. And I believe he's also in the show called Shameless. Well, he was in the show called Shameless, which I've never seen that either. But I heard that that's a really good show. But yeah,
Yeah,
he did an excellent job. Now, I do want to mention that they did combine. Essentially, they didn't add all the boys. So there's another son named Chris Von Erich, who was a younger brother, but he also committed suicide um, shortly after the death of Mike. So after Mike
Hey,
died, this one died, and then the last one that died was Kerry. I think.
Yeah, Kerry was the last one. Okay, which one that couldn't wrestle, but they forced him to?
So that was a little. So Mike and Chris. So what they did is they took Chris Von Erich and broke his story up between Mike and Kerry. So there's a little bit of both in there in both of their stories. As far as like by death by via suicide by gunshot, that was Chris and Kerry, but they just combined that with Kerry, and I think Kevin found Chris. He didn't find Kerry, so they just combined that with Kerry, as well.
Yeah.
And they also with Chris. Well, I think it's Chris or Chris had like asthma or something like he had issues or like with breathing or whatnot. I think I might be wrong. I'm a true wrestling historian who will know for sure. But also, Mike had bone issues. One of them had bone issues and broke. And I think it was Mike that really did. He broke his shoulder just doing a drop kick, like just a simple move, and he shattered his. And then he ended up getting septic shock and went into a coma, and it created mental like killed brain cells. Essentially, became like uh, essentially handicapped, and
Yeah.
and he just couldn't cope with that, and he really didn't want to wrestle. It wasn't really his drive. And I thought that even though he says that they didn't really portray the father correctly, I would say that Fritz Von Erich or Jack Senior, I guess, was also there was Jack Junior. That is true. They had an older brother that died of got electrocuted. Um, but um, but yeah, I think that Fritz. I think most of that is quite true. And Fritz learned how to he learned how to wrestle. I think by Stu Hart or like Calgary.
Yeah.
Calgary. He went to Calgary, and then so if you think the way, and it's funny because you think the way that Stu kind of raised his kid, you kind of see that mirrored with the way that Fritz kind of raised his kids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I thought he did a great job playing the father, and I've seen him in a lot of stuff, but
Mindhunters on Netflix is a great show. He's in it. He's one of the detectives. It's an excellent show. It makes you. It's one of the scariest shows. Just scary because it's dealing with humanity and serial killers and the mind of serial
yeah,
killers. Just the creepiest, ickiest show. So
but yeah, I thought it was truly one of the best films of the year. If it would, I don't know if it would have beat Oppenheimer, but it would have beaten Beau is Afraid. Beau is Afraid. It would have been at least my number 2 film of the year.
yeah,
I thought
I'll
it
give
was
it.
near perfect. I mean, I really do.
Yeah, I'll give it
I
4 out of 5. I thought it was a. The only flaw I have with it is the casting of Ric Flair. I thought that they could have
yeah.
done a better job with casting him, although he wasn't major in it. But they did such a good job with the casting of Harley Race, and then MJF. Did you see MJF's cameo?
No, I thought he got cut.
No, no, he's in there. He plays. He's the one that when Kevin was trying to get tagged and the guy in the ring was showboating him and
Oh,
flex.
okay.
That was MJF. He's playing. I forget the name of that Von Erich. It's a Von Erich that isn't really a Von Erich. He just Lance Von Erich or something like that. It's like
Uh,
a fake cousin, type of thing.
yeah.
It's one of those type of things.
I
So
also
yeah.
like the casting of the Freebirds. I would have
Oh,
loved to see
absolutely.
more of
I like to see
that.
a movie. I like to see a movie about them. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, it was just a tragic film, but it was very entertaining, and it as far as what I knew about the Von Erichs, it lived up to what I was expecting. Which I don't know a great deal about. I knew more about Carrie than any of them, but I remember WCCW a little bit. I think it was on ESPN at one
Yeah.
time. Uh, as a little kid, I would watch it, but
I remember seeing Ultimate Warrior there when he was the Dingo Warrior or something like that. It was him and Sting. So I
yeah,
think they kind of worked that territory a bit. I think later on, I want to say Taker got to start there. I know Austin because Steve Austin is from that area, I
yeah,
think, and he used to go to that.
yeah.
The
He spoke a lot about the Von Erichs in interviews, so I figured he either worked for him or he was really close to him. Probably a little bit of both.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was. I look forward to what's coming after this because they're going to make more. I think I've already heard the Guerreros family.
Oh, that'd be.
Yeah, I think that'd be more about Eddie though, but the whole family would be nice. I think the Hart family will probably get one, dealing with that cursed family situation. And I could see it because what happened to Owen, what happened to the Bulldog, and just that era, But I look forward to what they do eventually do. And I think A24 is moving away from horror a little bit to do more of these kind of biopics because The Rock is going to star as one of those UFC fighters or MMA fighters. So that's interesting for him because that's going to be like his first big acting role other than playing himself, as people say, in like over a decade.
What is
like Gridiron Gang?
What's your so what is your score? What'd you give this movie?
Oh, I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Other than the Ric Flair bit, I didn't have any issues with.
That was minor. It was not enough to dock it a star or merit or anything.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. You just finished watching The Beekeeper.
Yeah, I was excited for this one. The trailer looked really good. I was like, it's a January release. It's probably not going to be great. It's probably going to be your standard Statham action flick. It was not. But it felt like the 90s came back, but was heavily inspired by John Wick. And I mean that as the biggest compliment because I think Schwarzenegger and Stallone would appreciate this kind of a film because it felt like one of their vehicles back in the day. And I love Statham. To me, this is Statham's best movie he's ever done. Like him starring in it, it's I haven't seen a better film. And I love Jeremy Irons in it. Josh Hutcherson from The Hunger Games, Five Nights at Freddy's. I ain't gonna spoil anything. He's in it. The only issue I have with the movie is the FBI story arc. It wasn't needed. They could have got away with not having one scene of that. But your woman that you really love's in it. You said they did a wrong in Creed. You won't be too pleased with that. What happens to her in this?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The trailer shows that. So
yeah, it showed that, and it's the whole reason everything happens.
Yeah, I don't like when trailers do like they don't have to do that, man. I think that it ruins things. But you kind of know, so I'm not shocked about that. Phylicia Rashad is who we're referring to. Who also was she played Claire Huxtable.
Yeah,
wonderfully on the Cosby Show for all those years.
Just think, if I had to describe this movie, just think John Wick set in the 1990s.
Did it take place in the 90s?
No, but that's just the feel. That's the vibe. Or just think of a Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Sylvester Stallone type vehicle back in the day. Just put Statham in it.
The difference between Jason Statham and those other guys, before we move into what we're actually reviewing, is he is able to, like, with like John Wick and with Equalizer would be the two that I would compare it to.
Yeah, as far as like
comparison. Someone that's trying to go out and get revenge for something that was done. The difference between the two are like those are serious, so serious, and you know, uh, whereas with I say with Jason Statham, uh, it's a popcorn type of he makes popcorn type of movies like
Yeah,
like you'll enjoy just like turn up your brain and just enjoy it. And Jason Statham is a compelling enough actor to kind of keep your attention. So
yeah, yeah. When he's on screen, you're glued. When it's going to the FBI, you're just like, come on, get past this. And I can't help but, and there was an old guy that said it too after the movie was over. I couldn't help but think, man, is this ripping off John Wick though? Is it? Because I thought it myself. I was like, they're kind of ripping off John Wick a little bit. They're not using a dog, but it's kind of
kind of John Wick.
it was heavily influenced by John Wick.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't have a problem with it, but there was this one guy after it was over that reminded me of John Wick. And I say that with, you know, it's like an honor badge. I hadn't seen Statham really do something like this since maybe The Transporter. Honestly, I think it's better than that, but I say it with honor. When I compare it to John Wick, because I feel John Wick's the ultimate standard today in action movies. So,
everything is going to be compared. That type of film is always going to be compared to John Wick.
Yeah. And you know this, even with horror films, if something is like lightning in a bottle, people are going to copy it. It's what they did in horror in the back in the day. It's just how things work. And this film follows that formula. This guy.
I don't know which one came out first, Equalizer or John Wick. I know Equalizer is a remake of an old show.
I want to say John Wick came out before Denzel's.
John Wick came out same year.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So I don't know what was released first, but it's very similar movies, very similar concepts in the sense of.
Actually give Taken
the difference. Yeah.
The one man, getting revenge. I think Taken started this formula. John Wick just took it to another level.
I think History of Violence started the formula. History of Violence. Yeah. The sense of you awakening a sleeping giant. Like you really remember that movie History of Violence?
Yeah, I remember it.
Like where he was a father at a restaurant, and and some people came in and started some trouble, and he essentially flipped that switch and became that assistant, and was very violently killed people. But yeah, it's just like same with Equalizer. He was a guy that essentially a retired old man working at like a Home Depot type of place, and finally decides to, they keep pushing, and he's like, I can't let. It's not pushing him, but he's like, hate to see other people get pushed around. It's very Reacher like, and like I hate to see other people get pushed around. I'm gonna do something about this. He doesn't like a bully. Like I'm a bigger bully than you're a bully, type of thing. And so, but yeah, no, I do like. But John Wick is the one that people will mark as that's what you are trying to be like. But what's your score for it?
I probably would give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get into our actual movie that we watched and reviewed for this week, which is Night Swim. A movie about a haunted swimming pool.
Sounds stupid, doesn't it, Aaron?
It sounds.
It sounds compelling, but stupid at the same time.
It sounds well. You know how with the title of Cocaine Bear, you get exactly what you think you're going to get. You're going to get a bear hopped up on cocaine, killing people. That's what you're going to get. Night Swim, you're like, oh, a haunted swimming pool, which you get it, but do you? we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
What I will say I love about this movie, there was one scene I absolutely loved, and I believe James Wan filmed it, as the opening.
Before we, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's real quick. Came out 2024. It's PG-13. It's an hour and 38 minutes. Now I did see that Jeremy John said it felt longer. Um, and there's
Yeah,
his criticism, and I can see that it did drag in some parts. Uh, a woman swimming in her pool at night is terrorized by an evil spirit. That's not really a good tagline. I would
no.
say, family moving into a house finds something evil around their swimming pool. I don't know, evil
I would
lurking in the depths of their pool.
just take the concept of the remake of Amityville Horror, and it's pretty much what you got with a swimming pool. Pretty much.
Yeah, funny watching this. Totally, the whole time I was getting Amityville horror vibes.
Me too. Me
Literally,
too.
mainly the vibes of the one with Ryan Reynolds. I just really was thinking that the whole time I was watching it. But we got Wyatt Russell as Ray Waller, Carrie Condon as Eve Waller, and then the children, um, Emily Harper, whatever, Izzy, and then Gavin Warren is Elliot. And I'm not going to name the other people really in the cast. Um, but uh, I will say what stood out to me was, like you said, the very beginning, the
Yep.
code open with the kid. This is spoilers for this movie if you haven't watched it. With the kid and the the kid and going into the swim pool and seeing like the boat and things like that and it was creepy. I would give them that. There are some scenes that they shot with the swimming pool that came off actually creepy, and they
Mhm.
good use of the environment. You know what I mean? Very
Yeah.
good use of the environment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I wish they wouldn't have called it night swim. They could have just called it the pool or something else because some of the some of the best horror in the movie doesn't take place at night, but takes place during the day. Like especially the scene with the kid by himself swimming. It was the most suspenseful scene to me. It was very suspenseful for me. I don't know about yourself.
I really only felt suspense in the opening, honestly. I, and I actually felt that was directed by James Wan. That opening scene, it gave me Jaws vibes. The way the girls kept going left to right, it reminded me of the Christie attack scene. Um, it was very well lit. It was really good cinematography there. But that was really the only suspenseful moment I had during watching it. I just kept feeling, I felt like I was watching the Amityville horror film and just with a swimming pool. I
Now,
mean,
also, I want to explain this to people as well. This would be the second. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the second collaboration between James Wan and
yep.
Jason Blum with the Blumhouse, right? The first being Megan. Megan was the first
First, yep.
initial, which was a hit. Uh, but I think that one, what helped that one go viral was a dance scene, and there's certain things that made it go viral, made that kind of become like what it is. But this one, I don't think hit the mark that they wanted. But I agree. I think the horror elements, the things that felt scary, was mostly James Wan. But then I think that you can tell when I think Blumhouse is a weaker horror visionary, in my opinion, than James Wan and the Atomic Monster stuff. In my opinion,
I
it's my
have
thought.
no
Now,
arguments. No argument.
yeah,
So,
just I think they really they just push out stuff so much and it just doesn't like the difference between like difference between Blumhouse say like A24 is I feel like A24 is uh is calculated with what they relate and what they're doing. With this with Blumhouse, he's like, oh, but it's horror. Let's put it out there, And I think that sometimes things stick, sometimes it doesn't. Whereas with James Wan, with the exception of like the nun stuff, but I think James Wan in a sense knows horror, and I think that you can feel when it's like you say you can feel when Wan
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
a
that
part of
opening scene felt completely different than the rest of the movie. So that's why I believe he directed that scene, because nothing from the rest of the movie felt like that. And if it had felt like that, I would have been raving about this film instead of what I'm going to do.
it. Oh well,
It's not that I hated the movie. I didn't hate it. I was asked if it sucked. I said it sucked so much someone threw up outside the doors because that is literally what happened.
yeah. So like I said, if I got to give a positive about the movie, say something nice, I would say I enjoyed what they did with the opening. I thought the opening was great. I
Mhm.
do think that it was. I enjoyed seeing Wyatt Russell.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I liked him.
I like Wyatt Russell. I think that he has a future. I get the vibes of his dad so much every time I see him. It's just like he's like a younger his dad. But he's actually got some pretty decent acting chops. I think in this movie it doesn't display them as much. Um, yeah, but he's no Kurt. He's no Kurt Russell. He's no
No,
Kurt
no,
Russell.
he's not Kurt. I mean,
But he's his own man. But I
yeah,
think that,
that's why I respect him, because he's went on record to say he doesn't want to remake any of his father's films just to put him in it. He
mhm,
wants to do his own. He's kind of like Nicolas Cage in that aspect, who had a famous uncle filmmaker who wanted to be his own man. And I respect anyone that does that.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, the couple.
I respect anybody that wants to build their own brand, than live off some of their other famous relatives.
I would tell
So
you this about Nicolas Cage real quick. I feel like honestly, I would argue and say that Cage has surpassed the Coppola family as far as like of being famous and like
yeah.
I think Francis Ford Coppola for what he did for like Godfather and I think he did Godfather, um, uh, and those type of movies. I think he did what he did, but just me personally, I prefer that I watch a Nicolas Cage film before I sit down and watch a Coppola film or any other Coppolas for that matter. I'm just not a big fan of that rest of the family. Nick is nice. I like Nick. I don't really care for the rest of them. But okay, that's just me. No offense
Yeah.
to the Coppola.
But offense was taken.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, they can have me whacked. So I better stop. Um, but yeah, I like that. I love seeing Wyatt Russell in it. I like the beginning, and then, like I said, there is some moments, some editing moments that I thought was really good, like with the mother cutting with watermelon, just the way the sound the knife hit going into the with the watermelon and cutting on the board. You like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And then there's the like I said, the scene with the little boy that went swimming where Wyatt was like, "Hey, go swim by yourself. I'll come out and check on you or whatever." And just that whole little moment of him just swimming and and the board moving above him and just the little flap where that the water goes in, just in the coins going into the water. I thought that was really good stuff. Uh, but that's then so that's what I like. Before I get into what I didn't like, Brandon, what do you like?
I thought they did do a good job with the water scenes when it was the horror aspect of the film. I thought they had some really nice camera angles with the water. I did like the chopping of the watermelon. Let's see. I'm trying to really think what I really liked about it.
You're trying to grab from somewhere.
I really am trying to. Okay, one aspect I will say I did like, the little boy. He's swimming by himself and he's talking to that little girl, and he gets grabbed, kind of like Pennywise would grab somebody. So at this point, I thought, okay, maybe this is gonna be like a ghost story, which is kind of what I was expecting. A ghost haunts this pool, but
Ancient. They went. What was it? With the cat. They went that route. But that's
yeah,
stupid. They did some dumb things in this movie. I'm sorry.
here's the problem I have with it. I feel like it wanted to be too much. It
We
didn't
wanted to do too
focus.
many films. We wanted to be too many films. Too many
Yes,
different things.
it wanted to be this ghost story they were trying to tell, but it also wanted to be uh, this haunting of this pool. This entity that also possesses you, which is pretty much any supernatural film today. but when it's trying to possess the father, it just takes you back to Amityville Horror. I mean, it just does. It followed beat from beat that remake, as you said, beat for beat.
Also, followed what was it? Poltergeist, was it Poltergeist 2, where the father drank the worm and becomes like violent with his family? Remember that scene in Poltergeist 2?
No,
Uh, with your dude, the dude
I
from
know Craig. You talking about Craig?
yeah, Craig T. Ferguson, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't
Craig
remember
T.
the
Ferguson,
sequel as much. I remember the
yeah.
first one more.
The scene where he has some tequila and but there's like a parasitical type of ghostly worm that is in it, and he drank the worm, and the worm then he starts gagging and stuff like that, but it kind of turns into like this. He didn't turn to a monster, but he just becomes like imagine an alcoholic crazed father and
Yeah,
start trying to go through and destroy his family and kill his family and stuff like that. But then like finally he has to gag out this worm or something like that. I vaguely remember this, but essentially this same thing happened in this movie.
yeah.
That
It,
that so I think they just watched what Amityville Horror and Poltergeist 2 and things like that and said
Insidious
and
too.
Insidious 2 and even Pet Cemetery. Let's throw some of that in there. They watched some stuff and said, what can we make? But what if it's a swimming pool instead of an ancient? What if
Yeah,
it's yeah
I think it should have stayed in 1992 because that's where the film opens. I think it should have
yeah
stayed in that era because I feel like the concept works for something that's in the past than it does
yeah
today. It feels like an 80s, early 90s concept, but you put it in today, and I kind of got confused because I didn't see it said present time or anything. I was in 1992, and I was like, oh, we're gonna be in the 90s. Then
hmm
the kids had their cell phones. I did like the kids, though. I would say I like the boy more. I thought the brother and sister had a nice little relationship. I wish they would have evolved that a little bit more, but they
and
didn't.
some things I thought was dumb. Just thinking about it, Marco Polo scene is dumb. It's absolutely dumb. Open your eyes. If they ain't answering you, open your eyes. Don't just keep playing the game talking about Marco, Marco, Marco. You know, open your eyes, see what's going on.
See, that
Two,
works for the 80s and 90s
yeah,
concept. That's why it should have stayed there.
yeah. That's why, like me and you spoke about, uh, like Summer of '84. What made that movie work so much is it knew the era in which it was taking place in, and stuck to his gun and made it ultra realistic as to what would happen in this situation. Yeah, it wasn't like, um, oh yeah, the good guy's gonna win at the end. No, there's consequences for your actions messing with a serial killer or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's what made that great. I think that the people in this, I think the people in this movie, uh, it's just like so. It was oh my goodness. It's just like the moment that the father starts acting possessed, not just getting possessed, but starts acting like addicted to the swimming pool and wants to get back into the water all the time. I kind of started losing interest. I was like, I know where. Okay, I see where this is going. And
Yeah.
then and then when the mother starts like, and it's always the mother in these movies. It's always the mother that starts investigating what's going on. Like you said, Insidious. You mentioned you hit it the hammer right on the nail right on the head. It's for beat. It was the mother in Insidious that started noticing
Yeah.
something's going on here with my kids. Let let's not do this. Let's get out of the house. Let's do this. So it's just like it's like Nice Whim looked up at James Wan's paper without and then like copied what James Wan did, and
Yeah.
but painted it up and presented to James Wan, and he was like, "I'm gonna get paid regardless." So go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely feels like his name is on the title. Like how they say he produced it, but it doesn't feel like it was actually produced. It's kind of like the Conjuring films when they say James Wan produced. They just use his name, kind of like how they did with Wes Craven back in the day.
Yeah, well, yeah, West mainly. Yeah,
I don't really think James Wan was there, other than I really believe he shot that first scene, but I don't really think he was there.
he probably was there money wise.
Yeah,
Like it looks like with all the producers, the first name producer, well, executive producer is Michael Clear. The first name producer is Jason Blum, the Blum. Uh, then
I believe that.
co-producer is James Moran. Line producer Scott Putman. Executive producer Justin Scott, and then some other people. But the last person that's on there is not executive producer, but is producer is James Wan. So I think that James Wan was low on the totem pole of having something to do with it. Like I could see where, yeah, I would love to know if he did direct that first scene. Uh, there's some things that felt like one, but then like there's parts of the movie that you could tell it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I say he was more involved with Imaginary than he is with this one.
Mm. But what's some of your pet peeves of this
Well,
movie?
just other than just following beat to beat the other movies that we've seen before. One thing I would say, when the mother goes visits the original mother of the little girl that drowns at the beginning, that whole scene it was so bad. Like I wanted to laugh out loud at how bad it was, especially when the mother's eyes turned
Yeah.
black. It's just
As soon as I seen the water bubbling with the little fountain she has in her living room, I'm like, oh, that's the water from the pool. The first thought I had, that's the water from the pool. Um, yeah, it's just
and it felt like it was supposed to be this really tense moment, but it was
the big
laughable.
twist and it's supposed to be a big twist,
Yeah,
like the other, like the very first scene with the girl reaching up for the mother, thinking she could see the mother through the water, but they come up and the mama ain't even there.
yeah,
That was really good, and they try to mirror that in one scene with the wife looking up, seeing the husband standing up there, but he wasn't there. So they try to mirror that a little bit, but I just think the movie falls apart so much. I'm surprised there wasn't a go to the library, search the computer to find out what happened here type of thing. There might have been. It seems like cookie cutter. It might have been that type of thing. But yeah,
no, there wasn't that, but you're right. It could have been because it follows suit. Those type of movies that they just copy each other, and it felt like copy and paste.
yeah,
Let's paste what we've seen in other movies and put it in this one, and just go. Let's follow the formula of these types of movies, and it took me out of the movie because I was like, oh, I've already seen this, and I've seen it done so much better. And
in other movies.
yes,
Another thing that I knew that this movie wasn't going to make it, I knew that Wyatt Russell's character wasn't going to make it. The moment that you have your character become physically abusive to your family, like hurt, like he literally hurt his kid, his daughter, and she's trying to survive him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's really like very it's traumatic. It could be traumatic for someone that's gone through like type of abuse like that. See that it could be very triggering. But at the moment they did that, I was like, oh, they're not. He is not going to survive. There's no way he's going to survive this. You know, and he has to sacrifice himself. Just get the pool asked for a sacrifice. Oh, so stupid. I'm glad they covered the pool up. It's just dumb. It's
Yeah, I thought that scene was them trying to, I don't know, kind of copy A Quiet Place.
yeah.
It just didn't have the same impact.
Now John Krasinski is a much. I would say that he's a much better actor
Yeah,
and director than whoever this guy is that actually is named as the director on this movie. But yeah.
yeah, I've never heard of the guy that directed it. But yeah, he's a much better actor. But I felt that's what they were going for. They wanted to get sympathy for his character, and kind of like how John got sympathy for his. But you felt connected to that family.
Still
you don't really feel connected to this family.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like not one of the only family member I felt connected to was the kid, the little boy. Honestly, but yeah, I just think that then like, hey, let me ask you: did you think for about 2 seconds that muscly dude was The Rock for like 2 seconds? They got in the swimming pool.
No, I didn't.
Like, for a second, I was like, "Is that Dwayne?" I was like, "What's going on?" But no, I just like it seemed like and it was very jarring. Just like a big muscly dude just gets in the pool. He's like, "Who is this guy? Does he live? How does he live in the neighborhood? Who invited him?" But yeah, man, I think the movie falls short of trying to. It's not. It's crazy because last year we got such gem with Megan.
Mm-hmm.
Like January releases just typically bad movies. Like you don't remember towards the end of the year. You forget that they even existed. But Megan was one of those that you're like, oh, I won't forget. Now, was there the other things that came out post Megan that I liked more? Yes, absolutely. Scream 6 being one of them. But um, but but you still remember that one. With this one, this movie is forgettable. Like I can go ahead and guarantee you this is gonna be on my worst list, unless there's 10 other things or 9 other things or 10 other things that come up that is more just worse.
I don't know. I mean, right now it's the worst film of the year for me. But at the end of the day, will it be as much as crap as I watch? Probably not. But because I'll probably watch the Mickey Mouse horror film, and I'll probably watch who is it? Winnie the Pooh sequel. I'll probably watch it just to add it on my worst films. My score's not going to be good for this, but I don't feel it's going to be one of the worst films of the year. I just feel they fell short.
Yeah.
I feel they had an interesting concept. They started off strong, and they just started to lose themselves the further they went. And it's a January release. Now, I'm not going to say I was blown away by the trailer. I thought it looked interesting, but I was like, I don't know. If I like the concept, but nothing about it screamed that like this was going to be Megan.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you as far as like I think what James Wan did is like, yeah, we are contractually obligated to work together again for like a couple of movies, and so yes, I'm gonna be a producer on this movie. So go ahead, but my main focus is on imaginary, because I gotta have this one be like I don't know if it's both Blumhouse and Atomic Monster, but I'm not sure. Do you know?
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is still it's both of them, both studios.
Yeah, it's both. They signed the contracts. It went official this year, but they've been talking since last year that they were going to do multiple movies together. So I just feel James wasn't hands-on in this movie. I just feel he was more focused, whatever he's directing, and probably Imaginary, because that feels very much like James Wan.
Jeff Wadlow is directing Imaginary. But let's see. Producers. Oh shoot. Main co-producer, Jason Blum again. Todd Appleton, Paige Pemberton, Ryan Turek again. There is no James Wan on this movie.
Really?
Uso, Jeff Wadlow, and then DeWanda Wise, a lady named DeWanda Wise.
So it's not Atomic Monster in Blumhouse production?
No, it looks like it's a Blumhouse film.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it says from Blumhouse. Yeah, so it's no James Wan. This is Blumhouse and Lionsgate.
That's interesting because it looks like it's going to be in the same universe as Megan, honestly, from what I've seen. But it kind of shocks me. It shocks me.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I'm trying to see if James got anything coming out here. Well, he just did Aquaman. He was producing for that. He was executive producer for Saw 10.
I'm sure he's going to be executive producer for Saw 11 that's coming out later this year. But he don't have anything to do with those. That's just money. That's just money for him.
Yeah, that's just money. It's his carpenter bag. It's his carpenter bag. But yeah.
Which is what he does. He starts something and he moves on.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I don't see, literally. He's a director on Aquaman and Malignant. The last thing he did was Malignant. Yeah, no one. So maybe he's waiting for a better project to come along.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I think this movie it's not trash, but it's not great. It's not even good.
It
had moments. So
it does have a couple moments. I can't say it's okay either, but it has moments. It has moments. But ultimately it just falls short. They just copy and paste what we've already seen and
there'd be a T-shirt for it, by the way.
Copy and paste.
No, not copy and paste. This movie has moments.
This movie has moments. I mean, it did have moments. I do like of course, I've seen that before in another movie too, with the pool cover.
Yeah.
Working on its own. I mean, we've seen that before, but I thought they did a good job. But with the mom, I think it's the mom, or maybe it was the daughter. I really don't remember. Was swimming. And all these other victims are with her. I like that shot. I thought it was beautifully done. That and the opening's what I really liked the best.
You know what would have been cool?
The angles.
So, because I remember being a kid going swimming. TC Cherry here in Bowling Green specifically. I remember going swimming and being in the pool sides where I could still feel my feet on the bottom, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then like when you start to drift off into like the deeper end and you all of a sudden don't feel your feet.
Yeah.
You just feel like just more water. It's the scariest feeling, especially when you're not really that capable of swimming at that point. It's a very scary sensation. If they would have did something with that, that would have been a really cool like type of scene in the movie. Where he doesn't know, like he's starting to drift off into the deep end. It's just like, but the movie lacks
originality.
The personality. It has identity issues. Thanks it's like we said, it thinks it's Insidious, it thinks it's Poltergeist 2, it thinks it's all these other types of films, but but it's not.
No,
It's not.
it's not. What it should, in my opinion, is what it should have done was instead of taking a haunting here or a demonic presence, whatever you want to call it, I think there should have been some type of monster that was hiding underneath it. I think it would have been a much better theme instead of what we got. But, it should have been set in 1992.
This is what they should have done. They should have instead of it being like an ancient, like mystic water source, a spring or whatever. And that subplot was dumb too. But what if they you either focus on the cursing or focus on the blessing? You can't focus on both. But what they should have did is had the pool. Like, what if somebody back in the old days killed someone, and to cover up their bodies, like he was a serial killer or something like that, cover up his bodies, he put them in a grave, but then put a swimming pool over their bodies.
Yeah.
And to get rid of the evidence. And so you're literally swimming on a grave, But then again, you immediately think, well, it's poltergeist, because remember they're digging a pool in the backyard, but the house was built on top of a burial ground, the body.
That's why it's like just making a monster movie at that point. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
You think it's a haunted or a curse, but really there's some monster living underneath it.
It would be. I think there would have been better concept, especially if it's a monster that kind of messes with your psyche, and that's part of his thing, to make you see things, to lure you in. Like the boat, the kid sees the boat going in the water, and in reality, what it is something that this monster is able to mimic and create to lure you in, like
kind of like Pennywise.
Yeah, or kind of like that fish. The fish that has the light at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it lures other smaller fish and stuff to the light so it can eat it. So what if it has like little things, like it kind of picks up on what you like in order to lure you in, and it's this evolutionary process. It's how it evolves and survives. So that would have been a much more interesting concept. I've been more apt to see that, actually. That's more I think about it. I'd rather see that. It's a great movie. And it's a 5-star movie. That concept.
But we didn't get that. We got let's rip off every other supernatural haunting film that's came out in the last 20, 30 years. But it's kind of what I thought we were going to be getting anyway, just because it was a January release.
Mm-hmm.
These typical films don't do well.
Creatively,
they don't do well in January. So, it is what it is. I mean, I know it made your list for most anticipated, so I kind of feel bad for you because you were really looking forward to seeing it. I was just, it's a new movie. I hadn't been in theaters in a while, so why not?
I had it pretty high on my list too, didn't
it? If memory is correct, I want to say it was number 20.
Okay.
9, 28, something like that.
That's not bad. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I think that I'm trying to see what else is planning on coming out here. So, want to go ahead and give it give it our scores or marks.
Yep.
All right. So I give this movie a whopping 1.5 marks out of 5.
Woo.
I give it that because I floated between that and just giving it 2, because I did like some of the horror. I might go ahead and give it 2. I like some of the horror elements in it. Some of the scary scenes in it was kind of kept me like not really on the edge of my seat, but it just like did its job as far as like piquing my interest but those moments was few and far between to keep my interest.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it failed to do what it wanted to do, which
Hmm.
was leave me leaving at the movie theater like, oh man, I can't wait to see where else they go with this. I wish they make another. I was like, good riddance when I
Yeah.
walked in the theater. So that's where I land on it.
Yeah. For me, I give it a 2. Similar reasons. I wasn't bored watching it, so that's props for them. It didn't bore me, um, but it didn't wow me either. Other than that opening scene and a couple other shots, it wasn't very fleshed out character wise. Creatively, it just wasn't a very original story. They just copied a lot of people, so I can't go above a 2 for those reasons. It just I thought Wyatt was good in the movie for what he was able to muster out of I think a bad script. I mean, I don't think anyone did a bad job acting wise. It's creatively. It's a creative difference here.
It,
Storytelling wise, it just didn't live up to its potential. Because I believe there is
it,
potential there with this story. It just didn't live up to it.
I think
You
it had
know,
a lot of eggs in the pot. It's what it
yeah.
feels like. I think you had a lot of studio execs probably making calls like, "Hey, no, let's do this instead. Let's do this instead. Let's do this. What about this?" And that's where when I don't know, man. Yeah, that's where it fell short.
And I
But that,
expect a lot of YouTubers probably ripped this to shreds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tell from the thumbnails they're looking like bored and like, "Oh God,
Well,
what is this?"
I didn't even look because I didn't want to be influenced.
No, I
I
didn't look
wanted,
into it afterwards. I looked at it afterwards. I was like, let me, because I already knew where my thoughts was. But I was curious to see what other people think. And they kind of pointed out some things like, yeah, yeah, I thought I kind of thought that as well. Um, but yeah, all right. So that was our review for this week. Night Swim, a haunted swimming pool movie. You never thought you'd live to see a haunted swimming pool movie? Wait till 2024 and you would have seen it. So there you go. Brandon, next week is it my pick or your pick?
well, it depends who you consider pick this.
Do you consider you picked it or I
I
go
don't
ahead.
know.
I
I
started
mean,
off.
you sure? I mean,
Yeah,
I know where I'll go next week if you say this is your pick. I'll go with another new release. Not
yeah. I
from.
go.
I'll go with the
I,
Kevin Hart movie, but if
ew.
it
I
depends if
go.
you.
I'll go ahead and say that this is my pick. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, I'll pick. Unless you got a problem watching it. If you got a problem, I mean, I'm just trying to help you out. Get as much 2024 as I can.
I appreciate
I'm trying to
it.
help you.
What's the movie?
Lift. It's an action I think it's an action comedy. It's got Kevin Hart in it, so I'm suspecting it's supposed to be comedy. Although he does look like he's playing the straight guy in this. It comes on Netflix tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Uh,
I was planning on watching it anyway. So
I wonder if it got a theatrical release anywhere. Or is it just straight streaming?
I would say straight to stream. I mean, it may have. I don't know.
The
Oh, that's right.
difference between
You gotta have theater, right? I
yeah,
forgot.
it's got to have some type of theatrical release, whether it's in New York or LA or something. But that's fine. We can still do that one. I tell you what, let me pick next week. And it's not gonna be a new release. We'll just do something different. Is that so?
That's fine.
No, no, we'll do yours. We'll do yours. We'll do list. We'll do yours. We'll do list.
It is fun.
No,
Because
we'll do list.
because if you pick next week, the following week's gonna be Reacher. So I mean,
So if I pick next week, the following week will be Richard.
yeah,
Cause
because
it'd
all
be
episodes will be streaming.
okay. That's fine. So yeah, we'll do lift this week, and then I'll pick some next week.
Okay.
And go from there. But what do we want people to do?
Well, if you like this episode and you want to see more of the Mark Out Movie Podcast, click that like button, click that subscribe button, click that share button, follow us on Facebook.
And comment. We do have people commenting on our last video. I appreciate it. I responded to them on YouTube. Thank you very much for.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did. People said, "Well, I loved your list. Great list." They mentioned somebody mentioned asked about he talked about Keanu Reeves and where his career where he kind of fell off a little bit and where he's at. Then they asked us if we seen another movie, Hard Point or something like that, something with Keanu. It's something I don't know if it's Keanu, but I was like I've never seen it, but maybe you have. You gotta go to our YouTube channel and look for the comment on the last video.
We're getting comments. I'm proud of you, Aaron.
Yeah,
You're bringing in people.
I'm
See how I
trying.
give all the credit to Aaron? I just push all the credit towards Aaron.
No, I give you props too. Thank you for promoting.
No. I'm the weak link.
No, you're not. But all right, we thank you all for listening, paying attention, watching. I hope you have a great weekend. Have an awesome Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is on Monday. It's a holiday. Remember that, people. In the meantime, in between time, Aaron Whitlow.
I'm Brandon Spivey. We have a dream.
We have a dream that you will mark out with us here on the Mark Out Movie Podcast. Thank you.